start building this story, we couldn't realize where it's going to take us.
Safety is absolutely paramount, and it's been a very difficult situation for many years that we've been using what was left of the last batch of tyres.
Stuff that you need is not in production anymore. What do? You can go and get a wishbone made. It's very difficult to get tyres made for the car.
The tyres are 25 years old, and with a performance car you don't want old tyres like that.
If you have a tyre that's illegal, then your car's parked.
What do? Push Bridgestone, make some new ones.
Most people look exactly as they did before. A couple more wrinkles, but nobody's going to notice.
The new tyre, as you can see...
It's a wonderful opportunity to interact with old colleagues.
It's considerably better in the wet than even the old tyre, which Andy was astonished with 25 years ago.
It's like time stood still. I've got old, the car hasn't.
It's great to get the band back together, isn't it?
There were no tyres that physically fit the XJ220 on the market. It really was a major problem.
I think it's got to a point of desperation with our customers, but they're very loyal. We've worked very hard in 20 years to promote the car, and we've done good things with the car.
There is a lot of interest in the car. It's still a very undervalued supercar alongside all of its friends in the same marketplace. And these cars are starting to get used now.
And now the values have risen, and of course people are more interested in looking after them and keeping them in good order, and hence the need for new tyres and more people using them.
For a supercar with relatively small production numbers, it's a really big move for anyone to just put all the time and effort into redeveloping a tyre.
A chance meeting with Christophe de Val-Roger from Bridgestone, standing on the steps of Goodwood House at midnight after Festival of Speed dinner. And you know, Justin and I hit it off with Christophe, and within 20 minutes or so we were shaking hands and saying, we've got to make this work.
Don has been trying a long time to get his Bridgestone tires. But the challenge I had, I must say, was how to prioritize a story like this in a big organization like ours. You know, we sell millions of tires around the world, and this story was looking very tiny in the big scheme of things.
A large corporation, they don't make any money from this exercise. This will cost them money too. And we know we needed to give them time to understand the project.
We cannot think, you know, economically how we can make a project like this work. I think we need to find other reasons why this project makes sense.
I think it's great to be able to put the original team back together of all the original engineers, drivers, and actually have their input in producing this new tyre.
But now, as you can see, that this smoothness of the grooves makes a more efficient of the water flow.
Yeah.
So that's why
To have Watanabe here is just incredible.
that
I mean, this company is huge. We employ over 150,000 people around the globe. So you can imagine sometimes not so easy to reach out to people. So we had to dig into this, and we found out that he was now a very successful engineer in our company. And, you know, sharing the story with him and bringing him back here was a great moment. We've got Andy, Alistair, John joining us, and it's great to see that we've managed to get all these people back here, you know, along this project, because it bridges, you know, a story of the early 90s to a story of today and to a story of the future.
The project is really, really special for me. Since I was a child, I have had always a passion in drawing and sketching car, especially supercar. And XJ220 was one of my favorite subjects, such an iconic British legend of supercar. And so when my manager told me about the project, I was really, really proud of it, to be the designer engineer responsible for the project. This is why I'm so determined in succeeding.
Manufacturing processes, manufacturing concept, and tire design is completely different compared to 25 years ago. Of course, if we talk about the chemicals of the materials, the structure of the tires, everything is changes. The performance that now you can get from actual tires are not comparable to the previous one.
All the molds that were built at the time had been scrapped. You know, we had little drawings existing, so we were trying to understand what was the original story before we can commit to a new story.
We have not so many digital information, but a lot of paper information. So one of the greatest challenges in this project was trying to retrieve this information and also create a controlled reference tire. And for this reason, we have mainly used the virtual environment that is more and more important in our job.
It's not quite as simple as just building the same tire again. Technology's come on quite a lot, but also there's a lot of rules and regulations that we have to adhere to for modern day driving.
Of course, XJ220 is very legendary cars, and I think also Bridgestone is legendary tires. So we try, of course, to apply to this development all both fundamental but also advanced technologies in terms of testing. The hammer, it seems a simple test, but it's a very important test, because you know, in open road you can have sudden obstacle that can damage tires. So hammer is simulating real violence, sudden impact to the tires, and because we control the energy of the hammer, that will input the tires. And what we verify, that tire will be not destroyed. It could be deformed, but it will keep the shape in any conditions, with any type of drivers and any type of road.
The rear tire for Jaguar XJ220 are size and dimension similar to motorsport tires, very big. So we restarted to use the original equipment, so original machines we used in the past for motorsport. We applied, of course, some modification, because motorsport concept tires are different than commercial tires, even if the sides are more or less the same.
The more tire is wide, the more you have heat generation, and so it's really, really challenging in terms of high-speed performances. The car is capable to reach over than 350 kph, so this is why it was a great challenge for us.
X-ray test is very important. It's the second stage of the quality verification. In X-ray, we have the opportunity to go inside the tire. That is very important for the safety level of the tire, because inside there are several components, and by X-ray inspection we can see what happened inside, if there is some particular defect that we can judge to not use this tire or yes.
I have always had the dream to see an XJ220 since I was a child. So now seeing the car on the track, on my tire, would be a dream come true.
The car has to be tested and it has to be put through its paces, and we have to know that the tyre's characteristics are going to work with the chassis of this car. This car was also the actual car that did the original testing for Bridgestone in the early 90s, so it makes it very special. I drive these cars every single day. I know the chassis, how they work very well. If there's a minor problem on the car, I can go to it straight away. So it's going to be really interesting to see the differences in a modern tyre on the car that I know so well. What we need to make sure for this test with Bridgestone is that all the factory settings are built into the chassis. We would not necessarily run the factory settings on our own car, but for the purposes of this test, the tyre has to work with every other one of the 220s out there. Bridgestone have a good facility for doing this testing. They have all the kit all ready to go. They have good workshops. But our concerns are that the Bridgestone team appreciate that they're working with a 20-year-old car. Clearly it's not a modern-day Porsche or Ferrari. But I think they'll be pleasantly surprised with the handling and the overall package of the XJ220.
This year I drove 1,000 specification. It means almost 30,000 kilometers driven as a test, and around 10,000 laps on a track. So it's quite a lot. Normally we subjectively evaluate the ride and handling performance of the tires, and especially their matching with the car. This is the only moment of the whole development where we feel what the final customer feels, so it's really a very important moment. Normally, designer prepare a project with different specification, featuring different compounds, construction, and so on. We're trying to find same performance, or if it's possible, exceed the performance of the control type. We start from low speed, testing some comfort on some dedicated track that we have in our proving ground. Then step by step we move on a wet handling, but because the condition of the tire is still good. And then finally we move on a dry handling. First, oval track. We start with low speed, we check the steering, then we increase the speed step by step up to maximum speed, including line changes to verify that everything is working properly. And then finally we move on our dry circuit to check the balance, the grip level, and then normally it's finished. What is important is that tire pressure setup of the car should be the same, because we just focus our attention on the tire. So all the rest should be exactly the same to have a good comparison.
The first time we drove the car at the test facility was on the original tyre, a new tyre, albeit 20 years old. And that was the control, that was the baseline we got to work from.
It's a lot more grip than I thought. But there is some understeering, then when you go on a gas it becomes oversteer.
This car was, at its time, it was fast. It was one of the fastest cars in the world, nearly. It still is very fast, don't get that wrong, because with new tires, it can probably be as quick as some of the most modern cars, even though it's 25 years old. It is a proper car.
Front, you just feel the car leans on the front all the time, and that understeer, but very progressive. The control was still doing a fairly good job, but a lot of improvement to be had. It's got to be a good tyre in the wet, in the dry, in the cold, in the damp. It's got to be a good all-rounder.
It's a good tyre.
Yeah, it's good.
No big weak point.
No, not at all.
Well, Andy Wallace and I were used to talking to each other in cars that do 200 miles an hour. That wasn't new. But what was new was the availability of a car which was a road car and had to contend with everything on the road at that time. So the difficulty was more making it a road car than making it a race car. We were naturally racers, so it came out that way anyway.
Let's be serious, this is a road car, street legal. It does well over 200 miles an hour, it has fantastic handling, its brakes are superb, and it's a very safe vehicle. Had you not driven a race car, you would think this car is the most unbelievable vehicle in the world.
We're 25 years on, and things have moved on a lot since then. But yes, for me, when I jumped in this car back in the day, I couldn't believe how fast it was. It was absolutely out of this world. It was quite shocking when you think how much horsepower normal cars had, and then suddenly close to, what, 547 horsepower I think it was in reality. I mean, that was absolutely outrageous for a road car. Whenever you produce a car which is moving the game on, if you like, you've got to follow that up with a tyre that can cope with the top speed that the car could do, and all the other parameters that you need in a sports car tyre. One thing that sticks in my mind was Kawabata-san was with us in Fort Stockton, and we were having some trouble with the car moving around at very high speed, really close to VMAX, and of course that was the tread blocks moving and getting warm. And he sat in with me, we did a run, and he just went, okay, I know exactly what that is. Brought the car into the workshop, just shaved a little bit off the tread depth, went back out, and it was perfect.
Is that what they did?
So, yeah, they did, and you know, his experience, he would know straight away. I think it was Martin Brundle had actually been around Nardo and come back with a top speed of 213 or something. And then we were just over 217 at Fort Stockton, and it was pretty hot too, so we obviously lost a little bit there, engine power-wise.
アステアさんは我々に対して車の方向性、そしてどういう車に仕上げたいのか、そしてタイヤの期待値というものを的確に我々に伝えてくれました。それは我々がいろいろな開発をしていく中で他の車と大きな違いをタイヤに織り込むということで非常な重要な情報を我々に与えてくれたと思っています。
Emigrate to the patch, slippery patch. We all ready?
Well, the wet handling was the thing that surprised me the most, to be honest, because you look at the car, big tyres, we go on this wet handling circuit, it's absolutely flooded, lots of standing water, and this thing was dynamite. It helped us a lot because we used the wet surface, handling circuits, high-speed bowls, and it was great. It looks absolutely beautiful now, and I'm glad it's in rude health.
This is the rebuild of the tire used last time, but improved for high speed. Basically, the construction compound is exactly the same.
Okay. But without cuts.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you can feel straight away the bang is less.
Yeah.
It's a really harsh crash before.
Yeah.
You can hear all the solid joints in the suspension all rattling.
Yeah. It's more even front and rear. You don't feel it.
No. So that's noticeable straight away.
It's like the tire is more absorbing than transmitting to the suspension directly.
Yeah.
Testing is a combination of different sensations, tactile, visual, acceleration, that comes all together. And on this car, you can really feel everything in your hands through the steering wheel. This is fantastic. Yep. All these sensations should be harmonically balanced. When you find all these sensations harmonically balanced, it means you found a good tire.
Again, on this surface, there's much less harsh crashing. Yeah. It's definitely riding the surface better. When we switched to the new tyre, the ride comfort was a notable difference straight away. The tracking, the old tyre, you really feel the car darting about from side to side if you're on an uneven surface. The modern tyre almost eliminated that straight away.
I did a lot of race car development worked for different manufacturers who produced new cars on the track first time, and then you start going through all the geometry and how to make the car faster. But you're only talking about the stopwatch, really. Yes, durability of tyres perhaps, but it's a stopwatch. And things like it vibrates, it smells, it's uncomfortable, it's hot. Those things don't come into it. But of course with a road car, those things are very, very important. You really, really don't want a racing car that's then dragged onto the road and made road legal. That's okay for 10 minutes, and then you'll tire of it immediately, and you'll be fed up and you won't want to drive it. So to actually get something that's really fast and make it civilised is the tricky part.
You can feel the tyres so much better, the grip levels.
If you have to avoid an accident, you will be driving at the limit of the car and the tyre. You might not know it, but you are in that area. And that's where the car has to be safe to drive.
I mean, I was pushing the front tyres too much purposely just to see what they did. And of course they start going off. But that was more like a race than the limit is, driving on the road.
And that's where the performance test driver comes in, because he has to, drive the car at that limit all the time, because that is the point where the car has to be the most safe, because that's the point where the driver is at least in control. So that's the area where I was working very much with the car.
It comes back to the compromise. We have to build a good all-round tyre for doing every job. Yeah. And you can never expect it to do a perfect job of all situations. Yeah. But I'd say what we have at the moment is pretty near to where we need to be.
Okay.
Good?
Yep.
004 was the car that went to Fort Stockton. It's the car that did the first high-speed testing, and it's a car that I drove many thousands of kilometres in. So yes, it's an old friend.
Well, it's a significant piece of history, and it's a significant piece of Bridgestone history. And, you know, it was fortuitous that we were able to buy the car many years ago as a race car, and then some years ago we converted it back into full original specifications.
It was the fourth car built. The first 5 cars were hand-built prototypes. It's obviously got a fantastic history. We wanted to put the car back into its original silver as it ran with Bridgestone back in '91. The first job was to strip the car down and to get all the paint off it. After years of racing, it had built up several different paint jobs. We logged all of the colours as we took one coat off at a time.
The Nürburgring really is a unique place, which is why so many manufacturers use it. And it's not easy to have every single corner on the Nürburgring perfect with a car, because there's every kind of corner you can imagine, even the carousel and the mini carousel, and you've got the straight lines and you've got the camber changes. And so in order to get a fast lap time, the driver has to feel at one with the car, and therefore the car has to talk to the driver, and it has to really allow the driver to feel what's happening on all 4 corners. There's places on the circuit where if you make a mistake, you need another car.
There were very few cars who would actually do more than a lap at Nürburgring, but we did 2 weeks of testing there, doing many, many laps consecutively around the Nürburgring, something that other supercars had not managed and that Bridgestone were keen to present as their goal.
もちろん我々は基本的には英語でコミュニケーションを取るということをしておりましたけれども、最も重要なのはお客さんが我々をサプライヤーとしてではなくパートナーとして見てくれているかという点でした。車がどういう方向に持っていきたいか、どういう車に仕上げたいかということを我々に的確に伝えてくれました。
John Nielsen was a test driver for Bridgestone at the time and was doing almost 40 days a year at the Nürburgring. So he was the natural accompanier for the car at Nürburgring because it was, as it still is now, 25 years later, the ultimate sign-off test for a sporting car.
We have a very good understanding of each other and also of the way one and another thinks. Because that's important when you have an engineer. He has to translate what you're telling him into his own language and by that be able to change the car to, how do you say, perform better.
That's out now.
When Jaguar started playing with the idea, what about setting a lap record for a production car? That was not a norm then. Now the whole industry does it, but nobody had done it before. Jaguar had 3 cars down there for that test and worked for a couple of days to fine-tune the car. I'd been driving in the morning and so on, so I was ready.
These are new ones, aren't they, mate?
Weather was perfect, everybody was ready, and we put on new set of tires, low fuel, and a bit of a race preparation, and went out and did the lap there, and it was quite amazing. The tire was consistent. We only did that 1 lap, but we could have done more. It wasn't dropping in performance, and that's important. It stood for 7 years or something like that, so it's quite good. Andy was my apprentice, you could say. He's a bit younger than me. And he was a natural part of all that, and so he did all the high-speed testing, and I did the handling testing. So each job for the same purpose, but in different locations. And I think the tire that we got out at the end was one of the best tires Bridgestone has made.
The car achieved a time which was almost 30 seconds quicker than any other road car had achieved at that time. We felt that that was a good engineering sign-off in terms of performance for the car.
This tyre is the 3rd one, and this is the latest design, but with the extra lugs.
Yeah, exactly. This set is exactly the same as before, but with hand cut.
Yeah. Okay. We were keen to have the tyre not look drastically different from the original. Yeah, it feels so nice and smooth on this one. The tread pattern has to be right. I can't do with certain patterns, it just makes the whole car look wrong. So we really wanted the tyre to not look drastically different. Well, tyre 3 with the compound that we've ended up with is a fantastic all-round tyre. The balance front to rear in the car is absolutely where it needs to be. The car will tend to understeer slightly, but is still drivable. It's amazingly good in the wet, but without compromising and dry. So much better. So much better.
I think we are driving much quicker.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Believe me, on this track, if you drive with Ferrari or Aston Martin,
yeah,
you are not faster than this.
Yeah.
With 911, even slower, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you feel the front axle?
No, it's biting in.
Ah, okay.
It was perfect. That is planted.
Let's see the drive.
Yeah.
If you take the same car and put a modern tyre on, it will be a lot quicker. And nothing's changed, only the round black stuff. There's so much development in a tyre that it's unbelievable. Once you get behind the scene, you can understand it, but for normal people, it's just something that's round and black.
There's a passion behind this car, there's a passion there because we all want to see it succeed. This tyre looks to be good, and from what I hear from the drivers and what I feel from the car, it's going to be a great successor to the tyre we developed 25 years ago.
The new tyre, as you can see, has a lot more material. It's a lot more rigid.
Wider blocks, and maybe the construction is more solid, so the can't move. Because it feels different. It should do, but it's the right way.
That's right. We've also said that the car is considerably better in the wet than even the old tyre, which Andy was astonished with 25 years ago. We've advanced in the wet as well. Despite the stiffer and larger blocks, the water clearance and grip appears to be better.
Steering feel is good. Car's very, very stable in a straight line. Immediately as you go into the corner, you have an increasing feel of what's going on.
We started with Mark 1 tyre, if you like, and I drove that around the wet handling track, and it was very, very good. We then made some tweaks to the shoulder of the tyre. We moved on to that one and drove the same tyre, and it's 3 seconds a lap quicker around the wet track. For most of our customers, that's going to be exactly what they want, because a lot of people are quite scared to drive these cars in the wet on the road on a cold winter's wet day.
When you're driving any car relatively quickly, a lot of the information is coming through the steering wheel if you're used to driving these cars. And if you haven't got that communication coming through, you just, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know where the front wheels are, I don't know what's going to happen next. But the communication on these new tyres is coming through really well, and you can really feel where you're putting the car.
Bridgestone がここまでやってきたということは非常に私は嬉しく思っております。25年前に達成した仕事をまたここで新しい技術を持って、しかも昔の技術も有効に生かしながらやってこれるっていうことは非常に素晴らしいことだなというふうに私は感じています。
It's been really great to get back together with colleagues, to see the car in action, and to see a new lease of life for the car with a new set of tyres from Bridgestone.
We found, I think, a good combination that is a good compromise among overall performance, well balanced between handling and comfort and dry and wet performances. Next, we will produce final molds, and we are going to test the, let me say, production tyre with this compound and final design layout.
We were in a position where we didn't have any tyres for the cars, and they were wearing out, and you know, we needed to do something about it, and to be able to create a tyre that's incorporating modern day technology and can do a much better job. It's been a very special project.
My clients wanted Bridgestone tyres. They wanted the original tyre for this original car. Hence I spent 5 or 6 years trying to get them to understand what was needed, and eventually they came good with it. We're already taking phone call orders, yes, of course. You know, my client base are very, very satisfied now. It's been fascinating to see how fast social media works and the feedback that we've had, but I think everybody's very excited about this now.
Andre has been great. He's done a great job of his testing while I've been away back in the UK. And he's done an amazing job sitting next to me while I'm doing my bit. I'm not so sure I could have done it the other way around. I'm not a very good passenger.
Have you listened to any of my music? No. No, probably a good job.
I listen to music of the engine.
Do you like death metal?
Ah, so much. Andre and Justin with Jaguar for oval track. Over.
We've been waiting a long time for this moment. It's still an amazing thought that this very car was doing this testing 25 years ago. If you think about the cars, all the rest of the cars that were on the road 25 years ago, this was like a spaceship in comparison to most. Feels good. The main thing I want to look at today is to make sure that the wet handling has not dropped off, because that was so good with the prototype tyre, the hand-cut one. Change of direction on a track this wet is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. This is more or less 3.54 seconds faster than original reference. This is quite good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. This is nailed on the front.
Yeah.
It's always that balance of the power from the rear.
Yeah.
You can steer the car on the throttle.
Yeah.
You feel the understeer, and again, I'm over driving the front of the car at the moment just to see what the tyre does when it's put under extreme pressure. Yeah. And it's so predictable. The front slides, you lift off, and the car comes back.
Yeah.
I was having to push the car so hard to actually make it slide. That just shows you how good the tyre is. I only spun the car once when I just launched the car at a corner and kept my foot hard on the gas. You know, it was just impossible to make the car slide. It was amazing.
We did a full loop. It means we evaluated comfort, we evaluated wet handling, we evaluated dry handling, and I like so much to see our tire on this car right now.
Don and Justin both told me that they were really, really proud of the work we have done. We started from scratch, from a paper and basically a pencil, and now we have the real tire fitted on the XJ220. So seeing the tire fitted on the car is really, really an amazing moment. A dream comes true. I mean, when I was a child, I can only play with the car. Now I have the car a few meters far from me, fitted with my tire, so I'm really proud and excited about it.
That has been fundamental, having Don and Justin pushing outly this project, because it's very challenging and very particular, a special project, and we need to have a person like them to support us in this project.
It's going to be quite a relief when the tyres start getting fitted on cars and our customers get the tyres that they've been waiting for all this time. They will feel a difference straight away.
For me, it's been really a nice experience, something completely new I never experienced in the past, because I worked in Bridgestone since 18 years and I drove a small city car up to high-performance vehicle, but developing a tire for a 25 years old generation sports car, it's something that I never experienced in the past. This is something new and I like so much.
Bridgestone, eventually when they came on board and really got the project, have been absolutely fantastic, and we've been able to work together and it's just, yeah, awesome.
Than 90 miles.
Yeah, that'll do then, I think. They did a good job 25 years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, for sure.